They erased Aria Wolf from the family album, labeled her unstable, unfit, not Wolf material. Nathan Wolf scoffed, clutching the family signet ring like a crown. What he didn't know, Aria led Operation Elara, classified legendary, unstoppable. At the military gala, the Admiral stood tall. Rear Admiral Aria Wolf led that mission. Phones buzzed, documents leaked, Nathan's lies crumbled on livestream. Stick around, because when the sister they silenced becomes the nation's hero, even a wolf has to kneel. The ring didn't fall. She took it. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what time you found this video. Don't miss out on future content by subscribing. Now Commander Nathan Wolf stood in his mother's meticulously maintained rose garden, his manicured fingers tightening around the golden family photo frame until his knuckles turned white. On the living room's massive television screen, his sister Aria's promotion ceremony played out like a personal affront to everything he'd built. The sound of applause leaked through the partially closed French doors, each clap hammering against his temples. "Turn it down." Mother Nathan Wolf commanded, his voice carrying the weight of 20 years of carefully orchestrated family control. She complied without a word, as she always did. The Wolf family name meant something in these circles. Old money influence, carefully cultivated connections. Not this military nonsense. Nathan Wolf's phone buzzed incessantly with notifications. Wolf legacy was trending, but not with the narrative he'd spent years crafting. Their carefully curated social media presence, showing the Wolfs as Boston's premier business dynasty, was being invaded by congratulatory messages for his sister. His sister who dared to forge her own path. "This changes nothing," Nathan Wolf muttered, adjusting his Brioni suit in the garden's reflecting pool. The antique sapphire ring on his finger, their father's ring, rightfully his, caught the morning light. He'd always used it to seal important family decisions to maintain their legacy. Now it felt like it was burning his skin. A message lit up his phone. The military gala was tonight. His lips curved into a cold smile as he typed out a response to his contact at the venue. The Wolf family had always controlled their narrative through strategic manipulation of information and influence. Tonight would be no different. "Have you ever watched your carefully constructed world begin to crack?" Nathan Wolf mused, straightening his tie as he prepared for the evening ahead. "When someone you've kept in check for so long suddenly threatens everything you've built." The sapphire ring glinted as he made one final call. "Everything must be perfect tonight. The documents I provided, ensure they reach the right hands. The Wolf legacy cannot be tarnished by military service." His voice carried the absolute certainty of someone who'd never faced real opposition. As Nathan Wolf's luxury car glided through Boston streets toward the gala venue, he allowed himself a moment of reflection. Our family has always understood that true power lies in controlling the narrative, he thought, remembering how easily he'd managed family matters after their father's passing. Aria forgot that lesson. Tonight she'll remember. Type control if you've ever watched your power slip away. The sapphire ring caught the last rays of sunset as Nathan Wolf stepped into the gala venue, his presence commanding immediate attention from the social elite who'd always known the Wolfs as he'd presented them. But there, across the room, stood Aria in her dress whites, surrounded by a different kind of power entirely. "You don't belong in this world, little sister," Nathan Wolf whispered under his breath, patting the inside pocket containing documents that would ensure the Wolf legacy remained as he'd shaped it. Some family traditions aren't meant to be broken. A military aide approached Aria, whispering something in her ear. Nathan Wolf watched her expression change, satisfaction coursing through him. The first domino was falling. But then she looked directly at him, and for the first time in 20 years, he saw something that made his certainty waver. Not submission, but defiance. Will Nathan Wolf's carefully constructed control survive the night? As the gala's crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, the answer to that question would shake not just the Wolf family, but Boston's entire social hierarchy to its core. Nathan Wolf stared at the crumbling power of attorney documents spread across his mahogany desk, his manicured fingers trembling slightly as they traced grandmother's elegant signature. The setting sun cast long shadows through his study window, highlighting the growing stack of overdue notices he'd carefully hidden from the family's view. Each piece of paper represented another thread in the web of deception he'd been weaving for years. The constant click, click, click of his Mont Blanc pen against the polished wood betrayed the anxiety coursing through his veins. His sister Aria's latest promotion to Rear Admiral had sent tremors through his carefully constructed world. The morning's society pages lay open beside him, her confident smile in her naval uniform mocking his carefully maintained facade. The Wolfs have always controlled their own destiny, Nathan whispered to himself, echoing his father's words. He pulled up his social media feed awash with carefully curated images of business success and family prosperity. Behind each filtered photo lay a failed venture, a bounced check, a desperate scramble to maintain appearances. His fingers hovered over a childhood photo of Aria, his mouse cursor poised to delete another piece of her existence from the family narrative. Dr. Harrison's research paper on family power dynamics lay open on his tablet, its clinical analysis of sibling rivalry and inherited wealth hitting too close to home. Eldest siblings often exhibit controlling behaviors when faced with perceived threats to their authority. The words seemed to accuse him directly. Nathan thought back to the summer when their father had first placed the family ledger in his hands, bypassing his more capable sister. "The Wolf name must be protected," father had insisted, "and women are too emotional for business." The memory of his first business failure surfaced, a tech startup that hemorrhaged money while Aria earned her first command. He'd buried the bankruptcy notice beneath fake press releases and paid social media endorsements. Each of her successes had driven him to more desperate measures, more elaborate covers, more systematic erasure of her achievements from family records. A notification pinged. Another article about Aria's promotion. The comments section brimmed with praise for her groundbreaking achievement. Nathan's hand clenched around his pen until his knuckles whitened. Studies showed that successful female military officers often came from supportive families. The Wolf family image he projected was anything but supportive. "Have you watched your carefully built world start to crack?" he muttered, releasing the pen to massage his temples. "Type Control if you felt your grip slipping away." The ancient grandfather clock struck 6 each chime, echoing through the study like an accusation. Nathan reached for the family signet ring, their symbol of authority since the 1800s, and twisted it anxiously around his finger. The Wolf's head engraving seemed to judge him with its sterling silver eyes. A text message lit up his phone. "Family gala next week. Aria's attendance confirmed." His stomach churned. Every military success of hers threatened the narrative he'd constructed, the image he'd maintained, the control he'd inherited. The weight of the Wolf legacy pressed down on his shoulders like a lead cloak. The study of inherited wealth shows that families often fracture when traditional power structures are challenged. Dr. Harrison's words taunted him from the tablet. Nathan glanced at the power of attorney documents again, his last desperate grasp at maintaining control. The farmhouse sale would cover his latest failed venture, but for how long could he keep juggling these secrets? His own words from childhood echoed back, "I'm the oldest, I make the rules." But Aria's rise threatened everything. Their carefully constructed narrative, their social standing, their way of life. The systematic erasure of her achievements had become his full-time occupation, a desperate dance to maintain the illusion of Wolf family prosperity under his leadership. The sun finally set, leaving Nathan alone in the growing darkness with his schemes and fears. Tomorrow would bring another day of careful image management, another challenge to his authority, another thread pulling loose in the tapestry of lies he'd woven. But for now he clutched the signet ring like a lifeline, his last tangible symbol of the control that was slowly, inexorably slipping through his fingers. Nathan Wolf stared at his reflection in the mahogany desk, the family signet ring catching the afternoon light as his trembling fingers refreshed social media feeds. Wolf Admiral was trending, and every notification felt like another nail in his coffin. His sister Aria's promotion ceremony photos flooded his screen, her confident smile, her new insignia gleaming. Nathan Wolf's carefully maintained facade of family patriarch began cracking with each congratulatory message that bypassed him completely. The weight of the ring seemed to increase with every passing hour. Nathan Wolf found himself obsessively twisting it, a habit that had once projected authority, but now betrayed his mounting anxiety. The farmhouse sale proceeds meant to be his ultimate leverage sat uselessly in his account, while Aria's influence grew beyond his reach. Sir, the military press office called again about the gala. His assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Nathan Wolf's jaw clenched. They want to confirm if you'll be introducing Rear Admiral Wolf at the ceremony. The words Rear Admiral Wolf sent a surge of bile up his throat. Nathan Wolf slammed his fist on the desk, sending papers flying. The family photos, carefully arranged to show him at the center, scattered across the floor. One frame cracked, revealing a younger Aria in her first uniform, her eyes already holding that determination he'd tried so hard to suppress. His phone buzzed again. A message from an old family friend. Remarkable achievement by your sister, the Wolf legacy continues to soar. Nathan Wolf's fingers hovered over the delete button before he noticed the message was part of a group chat. Others had already seen it. His inability to control the narrative was becoming painfully public. The signet ring caught on his sleeve as he reached for his drink. Nathan Wolf studied the wolf emblem, their father's symbol of authority passed down through generations of male heirs. He'd used it to authorize countless documents, including those questionable farmhouse sale papers. Now, with Aria's promotion making headlines, those same documents felt like ticking time bombs. Have you seen what they're saying about her leadership qualities? His closest ally at the bank messaged him privately. They're calling her the future of the Wolf dynasty. Maybe we should reconsider our position on those transactions. Nathan Wolf's carefully constructed world was unraveling thread by thread. The sound of ice clinking in his glass echoed like warning bells as he watched his sister's interview go viral. Aria spoke about family legacy, about transformation, about breaking old patterns. Each word felt like a personal attack. Standing at his office window, Nathan Wolf clutched the ring until his knuckles turned white. Below, a military convoy passed, probably preparations for the upcoming gala. The sight of it made his stomach turn. The farmhouse sale documents in his safe suddenly felt radioactive. If anyone looked too closely during the increased media attention, his phone lit up with another notification, exclusive Rear Admiral Wolf to announce military education initiative at gala. Nathan Wolf's hand shook as he poured another drink. The initiative would cement Aria's position permanently, make her untouchable. The family power dynamic he'd spent years maintaining was shifting irreversibly. Type legacy falls. If you've ever watched someone's control slip away. Nathan Wolf caught his reflection again, barely recognizing the desperate man staring back. The signet ring glinted accusingly in the fading light. For the first time, he couldn't ignore the truth it had always carried. His authority had been built on sand, and the tide was rising. Sir. His assistant's voice returned hesitant. Your sister's office sent over the gala seating arrangement. They've placed you at the family table, but not at the head. Nathan Wolf's glass shattered against the wall. The sound of breaking crystal punctuated the moment his facade finally cracked completely. Tomorrow's gala loomed like an execution date, and he was running out of moves. The ring felt impossibly heavy now, a symbol not of power but of his imminent downfall. Have you ever watched your kingdom crumble? Share your story below. Nathan Wolf's hands trembled as he gripped the champagne glass, watching the scene unfold like a nightmare in slow motion. The family signet ring, his symbol of authority, felt suddenly heavy and fraudulent on his finger as camera flashes illuminated his sister's moment of triumph. The grand ballroom of the Naval Officers Club, usually his domain of influence, had become his arena of exposure. Rear Admiral Aria Wolf. The announcement reverberated through the hall, each word striking like physical blows. Nathan's carefully maintained facade cracked as heads turned not toward him as the family patriarch, but toward his sister. Her dress whites gleamed under the crystal chandelier's medals catching the light, achievements he'd tried so desperately to diminish, now impossible to deny. The champagne in his glass rippled with each thunderous round of applause. Admiral Richardson approached Aria, his handshake and proud smile destroying years of Nathan's careful whispers about her instability and unsuitability for command. The family signet ring clinked against the crystal stem as his grip tightened. She can't. This isn't how it's supposed to be, he muttered, watching decades of manipulation unravel. Social media notifications buzzed incessantly in his pocket. Dr. Wolfpack leader trending as photos of Aria's promotion ceremony flooded military channels. The very networks he'd once used to spread doubts about her now amplified her success. His phone showed a breaking news alert: historic Wolf family legacy redefined as sister outranks brother. The family signet ring caught the light as Nathan raised his glass in a forced toast, his arm wooden and mechanical. Across the room, Aria's eyes met his, not with triumph or accusation, but with a steady certainty that stripped away his remaining pretense. The room seemed to still as she approached, her footsteps measured against the marble floor. Nathan. Her voice carried the weight of command now. I believe this belongs with the true leader of the Wolf Pack. She extended her hand toward the signet ring. The gathering crowd's phones recorded the moment, live streaming his humiliation across military social networks. Type Wolf Pack if you're witnessing family justice scrolled across screens nationwide as Nathan's fingers moved to the ring. The metal had left an indent in his skin, physical evidence of his desperate grasp on power. The security cameras would capture everything: the tremor in his hands, the sheen of sweat on his forehead, the final surrender of the ring. Documents materialized on tablets throughout the room, evidence of his systematic campaign to undermine her career, each fraudulent report and manipulated evaluation now exposed. The carefully crafted narrative of the protective older brother crumbled like ash, revealing the truth of his jealousy and control. The family signet ring slipped from his finger, its weight lifting years of deception with it. I never meant... The words died in his throat as Aria simply nodded, understanding but uncompromising. The last remnants of his authority dissolved under the bright lights and unflinching gazes of the naval community. Share this moment of justice with Monfax, a Wolf Pack leader. The hashtag surged across platforms as Nathan Wolf, former family patriarch and master manipulator, stood exposed in the glare of truth. His carefully constructed empire of lies collapsed, not with a bang, but with the quiet clink of a ring changing hands, and the steady gaze of the sister he'd tried so hard to eclipse. The night air carried the sound of celebration as Nathan retreated to the terrace, leaving behind the family power he'd clutched so desperately. In his pocket, his phone continued to buzz with notifications, each one marking another piece of his facade crumbling away under the weight of justice and truth. Nathan Wolf stares at his reflection in the polished mahogany desk, his family's signet ring casting fractured light across the morning papers. The headlines mock him. Wolf Industries' fraud exposed balance initiative reveals decades of manipulation. His fingers trace the ring's worn edges, each groove holding memories of control he thought was his birthright. Through the window, the rhythmic sound of hammering draws his attention. Aria, now Rear Admiral Wolf, works steadily on grandmother's porch, her uniform replaced by worn jeans and determination. The sight sends a sharp pain through Nathan's chest, not of anger now, but of crushing recognition. "I destroyed everything trying to preserve nothing," Nathan whispers to the empty office, his voice catching. The security footage from the gala plays on loop in his mind, his public meltdown, the desperate accusations the moment the truth about the doctored family records emerged. His sister's quiet dignity, as she stood her ground, haunts him more than any shouted confrontation could have. The ring feels heavier now. Nathan opens the antique box that's held generations of Wolf family secrets, gently placing the signet inside. "You were never meant to be a weapon," he murmurs, closing the lid with a final click that echoes through the room. On his desk, social media feeds light up with Dürker's Wolf Legacy Truth, showcasing Aria's Balance Initiative. The program designed to restructure military family support systems has gone viral. Nathan watches as his sister's work undoes decades of discriminatory practices he helped maintain through carefully crafted lies and manipulated records. His phone buzzes another interview request, another chance to explain himself. But explanation feels hollow now. Instead, Nathan reaches for the family album, the one he'd kept locked away. With trembling hands, he removes the altered photos, the ones that minimized Aria's achievements, that pushed her to the margins of their family narrative. In their place, he sets new prints, unedited, unfiltered moments. Aria at her graduation, her first command the day she made Rear Admiral. Each photo represents a truth he tried to bury, now laid bare in chronological testimony to his failure as a brother. The hammering outside continues steady and sure. Nathan Wolf stands, approaches the window, watches his sister rebuild what generations of wolf men tried to control. She works methodically, each nail a declaration of change, each board a bridge across the chasm he created. "Share this moment," he types into his personal social media, attaching the first honest family photo he's posted in years. Legacy isn't what we inherit, but what we choose to become. Wolf Legacy Truth. The post goes live as Nathan steps onto the porch tools in hand. Aria pauses, hammer mid-swing. "It's not about fixing the past," he says, voice rough with emotion. "It's about building something new. Type legacy if you believe transformation starts with truth." The family signet ring now rests in the Naval Academy's museum alongside a plaque detailing the Wolf family's journey from control to change. Its presence there, Nathan realizes, speaks louder than any power it once represented. Sometimes the greatest legacy is knowing when to let the old ways fall.